Welcome to Tony at 12. I'm Tony LeBlanc, and today I'm in conversation with Bruce Woodhead, former member of the States of Alderney. Today we're going to take a look at some of the current matters affecting Alderney. Good to see you. It's been a year.
Yeah, good morning, Tony. It has been a year, and I'm, as I told you, out in the cold now, not in the States. So I'm not full of the inside information that I used to have.
But you can give it an unbiased view.
I can, I
Yeah,
can.
which is good. So let's start off with the Guernsey Code of Conduct, which seems to have immediately run into problems to the point where the commissioner um, had to resign because she felt that the politicians weren't taking it seriously. What do you think about that?
Completely crazy. Guernsey chose to appoint the commissioner, a very sensible thing to do. We've done the same thing, and then they go and blow it completely by taking her power away. I just can't believe it. Of course, she had to resign. There's nothing for her to do.
Yeah,
If it's ultimately the decision of the States of Guernsey to decide whether or not a member is punished, then what use is she? No, I'm sorry. It was a very, very big mistake on the part of Guernsey, but if that's what they want to do, there we are. They've done it.
but really, Bruce, it should have been on the basis that her decision was full and final, not subject to appeal. And if she says you're out for 28 days, you're out for 28 days.
Absolutely correct. And I'm really, really pleased. The first thing I did when I heard the result of that was to check out the situation in Alderney, because I believe that we did have a situation in Alderney with the previous code of conduct process
Hmm.
where the states did have the opportunity to approve or otherwise a suspension of one of its members. That has been taken away as far as I understand, to the best of my knowledge. As I say, I don't have the inside track, but I did check, and we can't do it. We can't do the same as Guernsey.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Because why bother to have somebody on board to look at it impartially if you're not going to take any notice of them? And,
No,
frankly, I think what Guernsey did was insulting.
yeah, and there's no point at all.
No, no, no. Now,
No.
can we have a quick chat about Theo, the previous chief executive officer who was
Sure.
labelled chief clerk? I see that he's been able to get hold of some documents. The Data Protection Commission has eased up on it. But do we know where he is on this?
Well, I mean, he had every right to ask for the information, all the information relating to what happened within the committee and the various documentations that mention him. This is data protection, and the Data Protection Commission were asked by him, and I think that they have been maybe a little lax. I don't know. I shouldn't criticize them, but the documentation I understand that was eventually given to Theo was redacted to the extreme. Um, he is now asking for that information to be unredacted, and I think that he actually needs to ask for more information. The problem is that years gone by. I, I I don't know. I mean, if he takes any action, then the I'm sorry, Tony.
That's
Somebody
okay.
come in on the line, and I've got rid of them, and we should be back on. Yes, Theo has very little that he can do. I mean, the point is that in Alderney, under Alderney law, the contract was not confirmed, and that was in accordance with the agreement that he had with the states. And so in Alderney, there's little he could do, but he could, I suspect, bring in a civil case from the UK or from Scotland if he had the willingness to do that. But with all these things, I think you've got to look at what you're going to achieve.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's very sad. I mean, we feel he's a friend. We feel very sorry for him.
He was doing a good job.
Well, that's obviously a matter of
Too good.
opinion, but there's no question he was.
Yeah,
I mean, this is this is small government, small-minded people getting rid of people who, like Dr. McCulloch. I mean, total professional, and they get rid of her.
yeah.
Um, Theo was a complete professional, and he was attacking the job in the way that he felt that he should do, and he's gone. It happened.
Presumably, if this happened in the UK, he could claim for constructive dismissal, couldn't he?
I don't know about the detail, but yes, I suspect that he could.
Yeah. In other words, a situation where the employer forces you to resign because the employer's got different ideas to what you have in terms of running the thing. Yeah. How about your complaint? I mean, you had a complaint, didn't you, that I think was tried in inverted commas by the members of the states. Are you going to have another go? Can you have another go?
Well, to some extent, I mean, I achieved what I wanted to achieve. The whole point of the exercise was to demonstrate that under the existing code here, you could not put a code of conduct up against the president successfully, regardless of personality.
Mm.
The process didn't allow it, especially if the president and the vice president, as in this case, were involved. So the vice president was conflicted, so he couldn't take it on, and therefore there was nobody else. That's been cleared up. Uh, Melissa McCulloch is there.
Yeah,
She's now the commissioner. And so, as far as the uh, point of the complaint was concerned, it achieved what it wanted to achieve.
good. Okay, well, that's good to hear. Right, should we get off politics?
Yeah.
Let's get on. Let's get. Oh, well, no, we're not going to quite get off politics because I
Okay.
see the States of Alderney is hiring more civil servants. Do we
Yeah.
really need more civil servants?
Listen, we happen to run a government in a certain way, and you do need support and backup. Um, you and I have just agreed that Theo should have been there and doing a splendid job,
Yeah,
in which case there is a big hole because he is a major civil servant. And
yeah,
therefore, it's not doesn't surprise me that they need one or two more people to cover. And I believe there are one or two senior people, I say senior people, fairly senior people in a retirement situation, and they're looking at replacing them. So I think the answer to your question is I don't know. I'm not really in charge of that side of things, but I totally sympathise with the fact that the government has to run, and our civil service are very important, and they are always under pressure.
mm, okay. Alderney Electricity. Are they
Um,
producing current for us or trying to sort of sort the world out by decarbonising?
well, I listened to your interview with Chris McGregor, and I mean, he's got the answers for you really more than I have. I think when I was involved, and I was involved, the AEL were looking to expand the uh, expand three different forms of
Yeah,
natural energy and bring it online to reduce our costs considerably. In doing this, it's quite possible that one or two of the methods, and I think specifically of Spiralis, who have gone off in another direction to do their testing. But the amount of electricity that they could have produced from the tidal energy might have been a bit more, would have been a bit more than we would consume. So there might have been an opportunity there for external money or money being created outside of the normal AEL situation. But just looking at AEL, yes, renewable energy is the future. As Chris said, it will take 2 years really to get any of these things off the ground. And they're working a program towards it. It's a good thing.
it is a good thing, but the fact of the matter is, most of the properties on the island have their heating via oil boilers and things like that. And
Yeah.
you know, to come up with ideas to actually generate more electricity, you've got to take into account the fact that the grid may be creaking a bit if you suddenly put everybody on heat pumps. Who's going to pay for the heat pumps? And really, what does it achieve? Um, and of course, the capital outlay, Bruce, of putting these things together. Nobody does
Um,
anything for nothing.
England have gone berserk on heat pumps. And I think the research that I saw relating to heat pumps was that they are totally ineffective in any house that isn't properly insulated.
Yeah.
So to put heat pumps into 80% of the English properties that you see around the place, as far as the research that I read is concerned, would appear to be a complete waste of time because you're actually using more electricity and more energy than you're creating
Mm.
because heat pumps only produce electricity, produce heat at a certain level. And if your house isn't insulated well enough, that heat is dispersed and it just continues
Yeah.
heating at massive cost.
Mm.
So I think heat pumps aren't really the question, the answer here or anywhere except where you've got very highly insulated properties. But electricity is, I mean, you can have you can change your oil boiler to an electric boiler.
Yeah.
And still have wet central heating. You're quite right. I gather that the infrastructure is poor. One day that will have to be replaced, and if we all go completely electric, then yes, the infrastructure has to be done. It's just a part of the cost.
Mm. Mm. But who pays for it in the end? The consumer.
Well, the consumer, yes and no. The consumer can pay for it. Maybe the consumer pays for it, but the equation has got to work out. I mean, if we're going to have to pay, then we want to see that it's giving us a return.
Yeah.
So ultimately, if we have to pay a slightly higher electricity bill for a number of years, we want to see that it's very, very low afterwards. I don't know. Not my area really.
No, no. Interesting that Guernsey's thinking about a direct link to France, which is going to cost 100 million. That's going to put their bills up a bit, isn't it?
Um, French electricity is quite cheap.
Yeah.
Um, I,
Just
I,
getting the cable.
yeah, I don't know. Don't know. I mean, the I thought Guernsey did get a certain amount of electricity from France
They,
anyway.
they do, but it comes via Jersey.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
that what they
So,
wanted to do was have a direct link Guernsey to France, bypassing
well,
Jersey.
if they do that, then it also gives them the opportunity because they're talking very much about marine wind farms,
Yeah.
and if they combine the two, putting up the wind farm and having the link, then it's going to be a lot less expensive, and the costs will maybe be covered by other things.
Okay. Turning on to other matters, how do we attract high worth people to come and live on the island and contribute to the economy?
Isn't that interesting? Here we have at least um, seven, eight, nine properties worth £2.5 million. They have to be worth, I say, worth two and a half. They're going to be on the market at two and a half
Yeah,
million
yeah, yeah.
because that's what it's costing. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, I say it's wonderful because there's absolutely no point in marketing for high worth people if you ain't got the properties for them to live in.
Okay.
And now that we've got the properties for them to live in, it's one part of the equation of them coming here. Because
But
this is a beautiful island, it's a lovely place to be. It's got tax advantages, etc., etc. So now we've got the properties, we can start shouting louder. Come to us, which Edward Hill did brilliantly over in Amsterdam.
mm,
The reports of his presentation in Amsterdam were extremely good,
yeah,
and his angle wasn't all Bitcoin. His angle was looking at the high worth people who are involved in Bitcoin.
yeah.
Uh, And so, there was I'm personally not into Bitcoin, but I mean
Me
the
neither.
the the idea of the Bitcoin people coming here, fine, great. So I think attracting high worth people. If you like, I could go on to another area, and that's education, because if you're going to attract younger people to the island, we've got to change our education system. And I
Yeah,
think this is a very personal thing, but I think that we could do education up to university standard, in other words, A levels,
yeah.
by introducing for the sixth form here a hub education. Do you follow what I mean by that?
Well,
This
presumably they have lectures on a remote basis. Is that right?
That's correct. Well, if you
Yeah,
look at Canada or Australia or anywhere where you've got outlying farms and groups of people, they educate them from a central hub.
yeah,
And so you can have a full curriculum. Um, as far as we're concerned, we're quite lucky. I mean, okay, fine. If you were teaching chemistry by hub, the students would have to take time out, a trip to Guernsey, to one of the colleges, to do some practical work. Great, well, they can do that. I mean, that's not a problem. But we have to improve our education. Um, it's not there's anything wrong with existing education. It's just that we need to get it to grow to a point where people don't have to leave the island, because some
yeah.
very good people have had to leave the island.
Yeah, and the technology's here now, so that works. But I mean, I think a lot of kids that sort of move down age 16 to go to the grammar school or for further education or the college of further education found it really hard work to integrate into a new environment. Because a lot of difference between Guernsey and Alderney in terms
Yeah.
of numbers and everything else. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea. And I think presumably at 16 you're sufficiently mature not to mess around with it.
Yeah, well, probably. um, at least you've got there are people there. It's a school. It's an established school. You're not at home doing it, so you're still going to go to school.
Yeah,
You're going to go to your classroom. There's going to be the odd
supervisor.
teacher. Yeah, there's going to be a supervisor around. So
Yeah.
no, I think that's worth further investigation, personally.
Yeah, yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, and I think as time goes by, it gets more and more vital to get A levels and university courses sorted out. No doubt about that. Coming back to the high net worth people,
Yeah.
of course, the problem is connectivity, unless they've got their own mini jets.
Well, um, our established high net worth person, Juliana's got her own jet. She her own transport. She comes in and out. I I mean that it'd be lovely to have billionaires all over the place with their own aircraft. But even if you've solved the connectivity problem, you will not solve the weather problem. And
Yeah,
there will always be, because we live on an island, there will always be times when weather knocks you sideways and you can't move.
yeah.
Um, and so, that's a part of the deal. I mean, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, we can improve our connectivity by improving the aircraft, by improving the reliability, but the
But
rest of it.
you still got weather and length of runways and things like that to take into account, haven't
We
you?
can get rid of the runway problem over a period of time, etc. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll all be a vertical aircraft takeoff anyway.
Tell me, what coming back to the housing bit, we are skipping around a little bit, but
Yeah.
um, how about affordable housing? How do we get that sorted out? Because, the problem is a lot of properties are sort of built on a piecemeal basis. So there's no planning policy where they sort of say, well, here's some land. We, the states, want you, the developer, to put in X number of units. Got an exception with the Arsenal, possibly, with 38 units there. But this is surely what affordable housing is all about, isn't it?
The grand site up in the Buttes has a number of houses that were built by the developer there, which are now run by the Alderney association, sorry,
Yeah, the housing association. Yeah,
housing association, age comes into these factors.
yeah,
The housing association, that works quite well. Um, that was a typical example of what you're talking about. They're actually quite high grade properties, and they are at a reasonable rent. It's very difficult. We don't do mass development on the island, and therefore you don't really have an opportunity to say to the developer, "Well, you're building 25 houses for yourself. We want 5 houses for the
yeah,
housing association." It's very difficult to do that, and I'm not so sure that many developers in this day and age, with building costs as they are, can afford to do that. I think you have to try and find another way of getting low cost housing. And we did, when I was on the States, we did sort of make provision to provide the cash for the housing association to create more units. Uh, we felt that was very important, and I hope that's still going ahead. There were ideas. There are some ideas whereby the states can provide the land, and units can be built, so that the value of the unit, if you take a unit on its value being two-thirds the property and one-third the land,
yeah,
if the states then just hold on to the land, and the property always changes hands at two-thirds of market value, um, it is a way, and it can be done. It sounds very simple just to talk to people like that. The detail is quite difficult, but that can be done. And we looked at it. I certainly looked at it quite seriously, and have resolved how you can do it. Um, they almost got there with the banquage. The idea was that the states would hang on to the land there. But eventually it was released, and so people have can open it. They can sell now in the open market.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if what I'm talking about, you wouldn't be able to sell in the open market at open market prices. You would sell in the open market, but it'd be at two-thirds
Mm,
the value, and so that would create. But the detail is difficult.
yeah. And as you say, the cost of building has gone through the roof over the last few years, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
You know, building blocks go from £2 to over £3 a shot and things like that. That obviously has a big impact on everything.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So there we are. Right. Did you see the Philip Pope interview that I did about
Yeah,
the yeah?
yeah.
Um, what's your view on Pickles and Pope?
Um, and we were quite involved with the Pickles investigation because it was happening when I was on the
Mm,
States. I got the I got the feeling well, I got the feeling generally that they investigated it quite thoroughly from certain angles. They produced figures. They studied very carefully the number of people who arrived on the island, the number of people who departed from the island. They looked at it in several different ways. I mean, as Philip Pope said, there was quite a mixture of people on the committee, and some of them had been dedicated 4,000 plus deaths in previous writings that they'd done, etc., etc. Eventually, that committee came together with a report, and I accept the word definitive is a bit too strong, but it was a report that was studied and put together by some people who had been uh, deeply interested for a long time and had very varying views.
mm,
And they'd come together and they came up with a report. And I was hoping it would be the end, but knowing Michael James and listening to Philip Pope, it's never going to be the end because um, I don't agree with a lot of what Philip said. I don't necessarily think that the reports and the information that he has is any more secure or accurate than any other information. To talk of glibly of 16,000 deaths. There's almost a logistics problem on that. If you look at it, it's just utterly ridiculous. Um, the other thing is that the word concentration camp has such connotations that it is a word that I prefer not to use, although, of course, it does, from a dictionary point of view, describe a labor camp
Yeah.
or anywhere where people are kept um, against their will for certain purposes, etc. So concentration camp is the correct word, but it's used in it just has bad connotations. And when he starts linking it with Holocaust and this sort of thing, then we're getting, in my mind, to an area that is very difficult to deal with. Honestly and truly, the people of Alderney do respect and have always respected the fact that uh, the they've always respected the fact that people died on this island,
Yeah.
and we have quite regularly we have regular services and such like, and we will never stop, and we will always remember.
Yeah, and of course
But
the Hammond family putting up the memorial, not by
yeah,
government but by individuals. I mean that was a good indication of the attitude of Alderney people on this. Um, I'm
yes,
always a bit concerned about this hundred. There are lots of papers apparently for the Channel Islands that are kept under seal and won't be released until 100 years have gone by. So it's going to be what, quite a way away. Do you think there's any
2045.
reason for them to be withheld? I mean, part of Philip Pope's point was that, of course, there was obviously collaboration, particularly in Guernsey and Jersey, and it seemed that the governments didn't want anybody to actually be accused of it. I think, though, it would lance a boil.
I think it would. I mean, yes, I see no reason to. I mean, you take it for 100 years because presumably the thinking is that by that time, any person involved or affected is no longer alive, and therefore, inadvertent offence is not there. But personally, I go along with you. I mean, I think that they should be released. What it's likely to show, or I've no idea. But I mean, yeah, in principle,
Mm.
release it.
And the trouble with collaboration, Bruce, is the fact that, when you're being invaded, you don't know who's going to win, do you?
No,
It's a difficult equation to come up with, but there we are. We'll have to wait and see on that one, I guess.
yeah.
Guernsey IT, wow, big money wasted.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say about that is that look at big IT operations in the UK and around Europe. There have been so many failures and massive failures. It seems to me that there is a procurement problem with large IT projects, and maybe large IT projects that just get too big
Mm,
and are too complicated. The people who are selling them uh, think they know what they're doing. Obviously, the people who are procuring them for the governments and so forth, I don't think are completely au fait with what's happening. And half the things have never been tested over a long period. It happens all the world over, and I
mm.
think it should stop. I don't
Yeah,
know what the answer is.
absolutely, absolutely.
I don't know what the answer
I
is,
mean,
but
I filled in my tax return last year
yeah,
and online, and at the end of it, it said you're going to get a £10,000 refund.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's no way I was, entitled to any refund. But the fact of the matter is, that sort of showed that it was a bit flimsy, to say the least, in any case.
I agree. Look,
Sorry,
yeah,
Bruce.
I
Oh,
was going to say, looking at Alderney and the future of Alderney, and because there's a very important commission taking place, which is looking at the relationship between Alderney and Guernsey.
Yeah.
This is encompassing, of course, the 1948 agreement, and the idea of the commission is, as far as I can see, for the to be completely transparent as to what the relationship and what the finances are between the two, and to come to a new and amicable agreement. What is my opinion on that? Well, I'll tell you. We seem to have had an awful long time as a partner of Guernsey, and we don't seem to be very, very good together.
No.
I.e., Guernsey have a pretty, in general terms, a pretty bad opinion of Alderney, and Alderney takes rather than gives anything. First of all, Alderney has given quite a lot to Guernsey, right up to gosh, I can't remember the dates when it happened, but right up to Lloyd's collapsing, we were paying a positive
Oh yeah,
amount of
yeah, yeah,
money.
yeah.
We were well in the black. Everybody forgets that. Lloyd's then knocked a lot of our chaps off their stools. The money went down, and later on, not just immediately, but when things got rather expensive, and when Guernsey went to rather expensive procurement of things, we found ourselves deemed to be in debt to them. I'm not sure, and this commission will find out how true that is and how deep whether we owe them 8 million a year. Owing is the wrong word. Whether the costs are 8 million a
Yeah,
year or 2 million or not at all.
yeah,
One of the things that I believe totally is that if Guernsey would just look at Alderney as a potential asset instead of being a drain, we have got land here. We've got capability of providing housing at a very good cost compared with Guernsey. We've got dedicated land for commercial use, for offices and so forth. Why don't Guernsey wake up and take one of their departments from the government that
mm,
isn't needed to be actually in Guernsey and plonk it here,
yeah,
increasing our population by another, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500, by not 1,000, but 500 or 600, 400
yeah,
people, or maybe even 200 or 300 people. Increase our population from 2.1 to 2,500 people, which would have an enormous boost
that's right.
to Victoria Street and
Yeah,
everything else. They would then have a unit over here which is costing them much less than it would cost them, and we would have a more brilliant economy. I
yeah.
mean, if until they start thinking like that and thinking of us as a potential asset, we're going to get nowhere. Will they ever do that?
Wait for the report.
Well, I mean, do you? Will they ever fall in love with us? I mean, honestly and truly, because I tell you somebody who is in love with us, and I'll tell you somebody who's always had great respect for us, and we've had respect for them, and that's Jersey.
Yeah,
And I am doubtful that Guernsey will ever come close enough to make us a viable concern. But
yeah,
I believe that we really should investigate the possibility, if we cannot make it if this commission doesn't come out with a result that puts Guernsey and ourselves together in a proper manner, then at least it will have established exactly what we cost and what we are,
yeah, yeah,
and,
absolutely.
and give us an opportunity. And then I think I would go and chat to Jersey.
Why not, indeed. Right, we kept running a bit short on time now. Goods and services tax.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
is it taking so long to make the decision? You know, if this was a commercial organization, the CEO would be saying, right, well, here are the alternatives. We're going to do A or B and get on with it. and all they do is jaw, and meantime the deficit gets bigger and bigger.
You're talking again in Guernsey because they dictate what
Yeah,
happens
sure. Yeah,
in
yeah,
this particular area. Well, you've had a change of government. The last government passed the principle of goods tax, and this government is having to take it on and move it forward. From a government's point of view, it's a brilliant tax because once you've set it up,
yeah.
which maybe or maybe they're not capable of doing, but once you've set it up, it's a wonderful way of increasing your income
It's a
year
good
on year.
cash cow. It's a
Yes,
good cash
by
cow.
by tickling that. And so those people who are frightened that it will go up to from 6 to 10% or something, quite correct. It probably
Yeah,
will.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but that's partly because the population wants to live at a high standard of living,
Got to pay
which
for it.
has to be paid for,
Yeah, of
and you have
course.
to pay for
Yeah,
it through tax. Now
yeah,
we're supposed to be a low tax economy,
yeah,
as far as the world is concerned, and therefore we can't start pushing our taxes up in different directions because we'll start losing business.
yeah,
And therefore, we have to find a way of taxing. One of the things that is totally wrong with this is the fact that it includes food and essential services. And
yeah.
it has to drop that
Yes.
because you cannot tax the basic materials on a goods tax that people need. And because you can't suddenly find you've got 20% on your bread.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so
Just not on,
until
is
they
it?
drop,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
hold on, until they
So,
drop
so I
that,
mean, this is really what the debate's all about at the moment, is it?
yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I think that um, because the Guernsey say that if you drop it off essential goods, you have to add it, you have to push it up from 5 to
yeah,
6%.
yeah.
I don't think that matters. I mean, I think
No.
that because once you just keep it on luxury goods, then people have choices.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry to have to say, Mr. Woodhead, we're out of time.
I'm sorry too.
So I'll have to, be in touch in the new year for another one because I always enjoy having a chat with you, and I think the audience enjoys it as well. So many, many thanks. Wishing you a happy Christmas,
And you
and
too.
hope everything goes well in next year.
Thank you. And to you as
Thank you very
well.
much, Bruce. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye bye.